right, so today I'm really excited to introduce our beloved Mo Phillips. We all know and love Mo Phillips. Just to kind of give some background on who Mo is. Since about 2000, Mo has served as the Associate Director of Student Development here at SSU. Prior to that, Mo was involved in Res Life. She was the Hall Director in Zindel. And yeah, Mo just really stresses that she loves all of her Seawolves, and she has a lot of spirit. You'll see her around campus and involved in all of the campus life programming that goes on here. And yeah, let's give a big welcome and round of applause.
Great job, right? Good job, good job. Hello, all of our Seawolves out there. It's so good to see you all. I'm going to try that again. Hello, all of our Seawolves. It's so good to see you all. Much better. It's really wonderful to be here to kick off the leadership lectures. I'm really blessed to be asked to come back here every year. It's a lot of fun for me, and hopefully be good for you all. Some things that we didn't hear a minute ago. I have been traveling around the country, going to different schools and colleges and campuses over the last 35 years of my life, and getting some different experiences that bring me to where I am today on the stage in front of you. But it really doesn't feel that long ago that I was sitting where you are. Maybe not in Schroeder Hall, because I wasn't here then. But some hall somewhere back in Wisconsin, which is where I'm from, at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. I sat in a room much like this, waiting to be taught about leadership, to hopefully access the position that I wanted as an RA or a CSA. It took me 4 times trying to be an RA, but finally they hired me. And look at me now. Woo. My mom's like, you're still in college. I'm not sure that that was a big bonus for you. But anyway, I have made some travels from Wisconsin to Northern Arizona University, where I was a graduate programmer and got a degree in counseling. And then I went out to Eastern Washington University in Spokane, Washington area. And I went out to New Hampshire, to the University of New Hampshire, home of some of the next Democratic debates coming up soon. Actually, UNH is hosting one, and as they did when I was there. And they always get a lucky chance to do that type of stuff due to their location. And then I took the trek out here about 18 years ago. I tell you that not to say, oh, wow, look at her, she's traveled. I've had many different experiences in programming, in leadership, in working with students. And you'll notice that the longest that I've stayed, if I would have told you the times I was at somewhere, which is only 3 years, was here at Sonoma State University. 18 years, because I absolutely love not just the environment and where we're located, but I love working with students like yourself who come here wanting to learn about leadership. And it's not like this at other universities that I've been at. Not everywhere do we have these big classes like this where we talk about leadership and we learn about leadership and we have speakers come in. This is the only place I know of that we've done leadership selection together for all of the different leadership positions, or many of them, where we've had a class like this that actually goes through the whole semester, not just for RAs, but for all people that are interested in leadership or interested in positions, because I would venture a guess that not all of you are interested in a position. Is that right? How many are not applying for a position, they're just doing this class? Well, good for you all. That's excellent. Now, you may change your mind as time goes on, but the pursuit of education and the pursuit of knowledge about leadership or other things can only benefit you. So I'm really glad that you're here. And I'm glad to be here too. Today, I'm going to introduce my friend here, Karina, who actually it wasn't long ago that she was sitting in your shoes either. Karina was a student here when?
2009, 2013.
2009 to 13, she went on to grad school in student affairs up in Oregon, and she ended up coming back here, and she works part-time with me in the hub, or no, part-time with me in programming, and part-time in the hub, working on programs over there. So I'm really happy that she's here in general, but I'm also happy that she's here to help me move the slides along today. So thank you for helping me out today. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership, and then I'm going to give some information about the expectations for the class towards the end, and then Alvin is going to do a couple of minutes, and then we're going to have you on your way. All right, so, but we're going to kick it off here. In my pursuit of knowledge about leadership, there are many things, and when they asked me to do this probably 6, 7 years ago, I've been doing this thing. I thought I would do some research, and you can go ahead, about what is leadership. I started by Googling images of leadership, as we sometimes do. I Google images a lot, just to kind of see what comes up. Sometimes it's goofy stuff, sometimes not. And these are what came up when I said leadership. Okay, so we've got the people of Argentina. That's that one up there, and I'm like, Evita Perón, nice leader, good leader. Not what I'm kind of thinking about here. Then you've got the person, I'm king of the world, on the Titanic there. We all know what happened there. Leading that book. Then we've got the person who the leader is running away from the people that they're working with. I'm not sure that I like that either. As you see that, then we got the old kumbaya, which is nice around the campfire. But I'm not sure that I feel comfortable with me standing in the middle and everyone, although I'm kind of doing that now, I'm sorry. I'm realizing now, you're kind of but you're not standing around me with your hands up. So it's a little different, but you can go ahead. And then I found this, where the leader is walking the plank. I'm not sure what that's about or why the followers are having that happen. Didn't quite do it for me. So then I said, maybe I'll look at books, or people. And I found a lot of leaders here, and you'll notice a lot of the faces here. Hillary Clinton, JFK. I found some sports figures. Look at their number 3, she was just here in October. Christy Rampone from the U.S. women's soccer team, definitely a leader. Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, always in the forefront of pop culture. Then there's the Biebs. Woo! I know, nice album right now, right? It's not bad, actually. We've got Oprah, we've got Nelson Mandela, we've got Hitler. Anyone surprised to see Hitler there? Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. Well, you'll probably talk about this in your classes. I know you will, actually. Because sometimes leaders do things for good. Sometimes leaders do things for not so good. But you can't deny that he was a leader. You may not like where he led people, but you can't deny that. Then we've got, Alex up there. Sometimes you think of leaders as older people. You think of people that have wisdom and have lots of time under their belt, lots of knowledge and experience, and that's not always true. Our friend Alex up there in the lemonade stand, does anyone know the story? Would you like to tell us the story? What's your name?
My name is Kristen.
Kristen, nice to meet you. What's your story?
So Alex, she had cancer. She was pretty far along in hers, and so she decided to set up a lemonade stand, not to pay for her own treatment, but for the research and treatment of other cancers.
Yeah, and so not just her booth now. There's millions of people around the world that have these Alex's lemonade stands. She's not even with us anymore. She started a movement of people helping other people. And she was all of maybe 6 years old there. So you don't have to be older, like Mahatma Gandhi. You don't have to be older to be able to lead people. It can be young kids too. And actually, we find that a lot of you lead a lot of different movements here on campus. I'm excited to see that. I wish there were more, but we see that there are different things on campus, issues that come up that you all lead on where we aren't able to. And that's really exciting to see. Go ahead. So then I looked at books, and I have to tell you, being a parent, I noticed this too. There's a book for everything. Hundreds, thousands of books on leadership, just like being a parent. One says do this, one says do that, one says do this, one says do that. And yeah, if you look around, you'll probably find one that agrees with what you believe or that you believe, stuff like that. But I just didn't really find that to be very helpful either. So, we can move on there. So then I just started to ask around. I asked around from different people, what do you think a leader is? And I kind of came up with my own thoughts on this in conjunction with their stuff. What I heard was leaders have confidence. Confidence is not necessarily confidence. Think about that. You can have a lot of confidence and not have any competence. But confidence in yourself, confidence in others around you, to be able to make a difference, to be able to lead others, to be able to inspire others, to be able to work with others. You have to have a little bit of confidence. Now, I know that I didn't have that when I first started. I didn't have a lot of confidence. It took time. It took experience. It took meeting with people to talk about what I was doing well and what I wasn't doing well and getting some constructive feedback. It took a lot of time to get to the point where I can stand up on this stage and talk to you about something that maybe 30 years ago I wasn't very confident about at all. All right? Initiative. That's something that I was really lucky to always have, is initiative at some level. And I think it started with the Girl Scouts way back in the day. I was a Girl Scout for many, 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 many years, and got the equivalent of the Eagle Scout, the Silver Award for Girl Scouts. And I always found that I was able to jump out there and try things. I may not have always succeeded, and that's okay, because I learned a lot from failing too. And that has continued all the way through just yesterday. I mean, there's the things that happen every day where I'll put my foot out there and sometimes it gets run over by a car, and sometimes, you know, I get to move and I keep moving. You know, so initiative. Taking the initiative or taking a step out of your comfort zone to do something. To make a decision and do it. Characters of a leader, just, that you're just. I was trying to think about this and how I might explain this, and you're going to learn a lot about these things in your classes in the weeks to come. Just doesn't mean fair. I'm trying to think about, a speaker came and talked to us once about someone decided that they were going to give everyone a pair of tennis shoes to run a race. And they gave everyone a pair of shoes, and you might think, oh, that's fair. That's fair, except all the shoes were the same size. So every one of you got a pair of shoes, and you're going to run this race and go to the end of the building here. And it's fair because you all got a pair of shoes, right? Not really, because the size 7 may not fit you. May not fit me. You know? So basically, we start out at different levels, and we need different things. We all need different size shoes. So if you give everyone a different pair of shoes, a different size pair of shoes, one that fits, you know, maybe that is more just than just giving people any old pair of shoes. Does that make sense? So it's not just about being fair leadership, it's about being just. It's about meeting people where they're at. It's about those people that don't necessarily have opportunities, giving them the opportunities. And then there's maybe a fair playground, yeah, you know what I mean. Enthusiastic and charismatic. Now let me preface this by saying, not everyone has to be comfortable getting up on stage like me and talking and parading around. That's not what I mean necessarily. We need quiet leaders, we need loud leaders. Because we have quiet followers and we have loud followers. We have people all in the middle. Leadership comes in many different boxes. Leaders come in many different boxes. There's not one type of person that succeeds or doesn't succeed. But I do know that you've got to be enthusiastic about what you're doing. And maybe a better word is passionate. You need to have some passion for that which you're doing. Now, whether you're a leader in the residence halls or in the classroom or on the court, you know, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. All right? And charismatic, I mean, yes, there's some people that can go out there and just, you know, I think of Bill Clinton, for better or for worse, you know, he's a charismatic person. Ronald Reagan was too, as a president. They gathered people in, it was the authenticity and that type of thing. But I think more than just being out there and being able to say, you know, woo, it's just you draw people in, you engage people. People want to be around you. You're not scaring them off. Sometimes people are abrasive. Sometimes people don't want to listen to what the people that they're working with have to say. Sometimes they don't pay attention to what they're doing. You know, all of these things. You know, being a charismatic leader is listening, is understanding, is paying attention, is gathering people in. It's making them a part of what you're doing. Okay? Courageous. It's not easy being a leader sometimes. It's not easy to take a step out of your comfort zone, especially if it's not a popular decision or a popular way that you're leading people. You have to have some courage. It takes courage for me to come out here every time and stand on the stage. Where you all might think that this is something that comes naturally and easily to me, it doesn't. I am naturally an introvert. Might be challenging for people to understand that, but I'm sure my friends that are here understand that I'm a person who needs that time to regroup and to rejuvenate, and being out in front of people takes a lot of my energy. This is not naturally my MO. Did you get that, MO? Anyway. You gotta be courageous sometimes, and there's gonna be a lot of different types of courage that you need. Something as simple as this, which isn't really simple, to something that's a lot more difficult, you know? The Jackie Robinsons, you know, of our time. That's a lot more difficult than what I'm doing here. Motivated, you gotta be motivated. Excited about what you're doing. Again, that comes down to some passion. It's thinking about what you want and going after that. Those are some things that I think of as far as characteristics of a leader. Good judgment. That is not something that I think everyone has, and that makes it challenging. I think critical thinking is something that you're all learning now, and you're all trying to learn now in your classes, in this class, and your interactions with other people. I don't necessarily think that everyone has good judgment, but I do think you need to learn about how to know yourself and how to understand the situation and how to understand the people that you're working with so you can make well thought out decisions. Sometimes I'm very rash in the way that I do things, and I don't make the best decisions. That is not the best way to make decisions. So I have to work on that. Endurance. You have to have a lot of endurance to run this. It is not a, how do I want to say this? It is not a 100-yard dash leadership, much like life. There's lots of little races in the big race. And you need the endurance to be able to do this. You know, regardless of what type of position you find yourself in as a leader, regardless of what type of role you might take on, whether it's here or whether it's off campus or in the place of business that you work, there are different challenges that are going to come your way. And things that are going to knock you down sometimes. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, if I have to get up and do one more conversation with a student about this, or if I have to do this one more time. But somehow you've got to figure out how to pick yourself up, how to motivate yourself, and how to have endurance for the long race. You know, it's not one day, it's every day. It's every day. I often say to my staff, how you end a job says a lot more about you than how you started. How you end a job says a lot more about you than how you started. So how you behave, how you act, how you perform in the 9th inning is just as important as how you act and perform in the 1st inning. When you're a baseball player, even if you're down 10-0, you know, you still got to put forth the effort. That's the endurance I'm talking about. When you're tired, when you've had enough, when it doesn't seem like what you're doing is working, that's when you have to go inside yourself and find the confidence, the motivation, the courage to keep on the track. Does that make sense? All right. Communication is important. Sometimes written communication, many times verbal communication. And what's important in communication? What do you think? Listening. Ding, 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 ding. You're in the bonus round. Go for the car. Yes, listening is important in communication. It's not enough just to talk at people. I know in this type of situation, I'm more talking at you. But when I'm sitting down one-on-one, that's an opportunity for me to hear back from people and to listen. Sometimes when I'm in my office and people come in and they want to talk to me, sometimes I'm at my computer because I'm working on something and I'm like, And Karina's come in a million times and I probably haven't always given her the attention that I need to give her. But I have to remember that in order for me to really fully understand what she's saying and what she's not saying, because sometimes that's just as important, I have to be looking at her, I have to be engaged in a conversation with her. That's what's important. So in communication, it's not just talky. We can do that all day long, many of us. Some of us can't. But it's listening too. And that's why I say that leadership comes in many different packages, because sometimes you're going to have to talk and sometimes you're going to have to listen. Sometimes you're going to have to pull information out, sometimes you're going to have to keep something in. And not just blurt out. Sometimes you're going to have filters. I'm learning about that every day. I can't just say whatever I want. So communication is important in leadership. Clear communication is important in leadership. Helping them to understand what you're saying. If I say, Karina, make a peanut butter sandwich. Well, let me just think about this. A communication exercise I did once. It said, write directions for making a peanut butter sandwich. Have you done this before? Have you all done this before? Make a peanut butter sandwich. And what someone did is they said, okay, put the peanut butter on the bread. So I took the jar and I put the peanut butter on the bread. And they said, no, that's not what I meant. I'm like, well, that's what you said. There's like, open the jar, take out the peanut butter, and put it on the bread. So I opened up the jar, I took some peanut butter out with my hand, and then I smeared it on the bread, the whole loaf, because they didn't say you had to pull the loaf out of the bag. So, you know, you can see where this might go. Where you got to be clear in the communication that you're giving people. Because if they don't get the message about what you mean, if Karina doesn't understand or Morgan doesn't understand what I'm saying, then it's not going to get done the way that I envisioned it. which is whose fault? My fault, probably, because they can't read my mind. You know, so that's important for me to be clear, and sometimes I'm not. I fail at this many times, and then we have to go back, and we have to figure it out. It's okay to fail sometimes, because I learned from that. Meet the group where they're at. I talked about that a little bit ago. Not every person, I say that, and I also mean meet each individual where they're at. Every group is different, every individual is different. Isn't that the amazing thing about even this room of people? Each one of you are so incredibly unique, so incredibly wonderful, with your own thumbprint, your own eyes, and your own mouth, and your own thoughts. That is an amazing thing. Now, when you get a group of amazing people like yourselves together and you try to decide something, that can be challenging. Because you do have your own thoughts, your own information, your own background, your own values. The way you were raised is different. The way you communicate is different. In my family, we yelled a lot. That scares people. In other families, they're like, they talk like this all the time. That's just not my family. It's not how we communicate. Pass the rug! You know, it's just like, ah! My roommate was like, ah! There you go! You know, and that was really scary, and I had to tone it down a bit, and we had to have a conversation about it, you know. But meet the group where they're at. You have to delineate, or kind of think about where each person is at in the group that you're leading. Because inevitably, everyone's going to be in a different place. Whether you're in a classroom, or whether you're in a dorm room, residence hall room, excuse me, or whether you're, you know, again, on a court, or whether you're in Burger King, and you're managing a team of people there. Everyone has different needs, everyone has different experiences, and isn't it true that even every day you come into a room, you have to kind of assess where people are at? Even in the same group here next week could be very different. Maybe you're mad about something, maybe you're happy about something, maybe something, you know, really confusing happened before you got in here, you know, and you're not really with me. You know, we have to try to figure that out. And I up here have to try to figure out, how can I reach you better? How can I work with you better? So there's always something that's coming up. And that's the really frustrating thing sometimes about leadership and about working with groups. But it's also one of the most wonderful things about working with groups. Never a dull moment. Diet Coke, please. Diet Coke break. I think we're ready to... Is there any questions? Yes. Any questions about what I've said there? It's crystal clear. Outstanding. Let's move on, Karina, shall we? So these are the things that you're going to be talking about in this leadership class. These are the things that are in your book. These are the things that you're going to be discussing, and it's probably broken down week by week as the time goes by. You're going to be talking about how leadership is purposeful. It's intentional. There should be a reason behind what you're doing. There's a reason why Alvin asked me to speak today. I would imagine to give you an introduction to what the class is about. It's not just to come up here and talk about, you know, the Grammys, which I could do that too. But, you know, to come in and help get you prepared for going into the classroom and learning a little bit about leadership. It's to get you in that frame of mind. So it's purposeful leadership. I don't just go into a meeting with my staff and have no direction. I don't go into planning a big night without having the intention and the ideas of what I want to do. I didn't go into meeting and training my staff as an RLC or as a hall director without having a direction. You have to have a track. It's purposeful. It's inclusive. That's a really hard thing. And it comes down to knowing where your group is at and knowing who the members of your group are. And it's about taking those steps out of your comfort zone that I talked about before. We do not, this may surprise you, we do not naturally connect with everyone. Is that a surprise to anyone? No, it's not. Because you know, you have people that you connect with, you have people that you don't. You have people that you despise, you know, even though you don't really know them. You know, we all have prejudices and biases, whether we know people or not. You know, but we as leaders have to find a way to work with those prejudices and biases that we have, and to try to help others to work with those things that we have. And we have to try to get that group to work together. And we have to help them to understand who we are and where we're coming from, and we have to understand who they are and where they're coming from. It's inclusive. It's leaving no person behind. In the res halls, when I was working in there, it was trying to make sure, I would have the CSAs come into me and give me every person's name and 2 things about them at the end of the second week. That was what I expected. Then the next week, I would ask them, what are people involved in? We would go through every single student, and they would tell me who's connected to who and what are they involved in. Because I wanted them to get out there and talk with people. Who are the people that are not going out of their way to make connections with me? Who are the people that are quiet and hiding in the back? Let's pull them in. Those are the types of things that I'm talking about. It's really easy to just go on your way, and the people that are following you are following you. And maybe there's 2 or 3 back there, and you're like, but 8 of them are following me. The other 2 might not be, but there's the 8. Well, the 8, that's great, but we've got to find a way to pull those other 2 in. Find that connection, because there is always a connection somewhere. We've got to find that. Empowering. Helping the people that we're working with, empowering them to sometimes even surpass where we are as leaders. Empower them to make decisions that will work towards the benefit of the group. Empowering them to be all that they can be, if you will let me coin that phrase. Pat Summitt said, she's the coach of the Tennessee Lady Vols basketball team. And when she was hired at Tennessee, she doesn't coach for them anymore, unfortunately, but when she was hired at Tennessee, there was some staff there that she had that were there before her that she kept. And people were like concerned for her because usually a coach comes in and brings their own people and they surround themselves with people that they know with the skills, and usually they have more skills than them in those areas. But these people that she kept were actually very good in their own ways and very much better than her in some things. And they said, aren't you afraid that they may try to overshadow you? And she said, no, I'm going to work with them. We're going to work together as a team. And they're only going to make me better. They're going to make me work harder. So we're going to empower them to be what they can be and to give as much as they can to this group. And if that ends up being better than what I can do, then isn't that what we want as students that we work with and the people that we work with to learn, to gain, to be what they can be? So we're going to try to empower the people that we work with to have their voices be heard, you know, when they're sitting in the back and not really bringing their word forward, stuff like that. Ethical. We're going to talk about leadership is ethical. It's about making the right decision when we're faced with lots of other decisions. It's about doing what you know is right versus what might be easier. Maybe you're on staff with some folks, you know, you go out after class and they're drinking and they're underage, or you see them at a party. And they're there with other students that you're there with, or they're on campus drinking, and you know they shouldn't be. And you know that you all signed an agreement that said they shouldn't be doing that, but they are. There are lots of decisions that you could make there, and you're going to struggle with those kinds of decisions. Maybe not in that particular environment, maybe not this exact decision. But there are lots of decisions that we make as leaders. To either talk to someone about that, to talk to them about that, to not to ignore it. Those are all decisions that we might make. So you're going to talk a little bit about how ethical leadership, and I would imagine that's kind of where you might find, well, also inclusive, but you might find some of the leadership speakings of Hitler, and were his decisions ethical, were they right, were they, things like that. And relational leadership is process-oriented. There's a process to what we do. And you'll see right there, there's a process that we're talking about. So we're going to talk a little bit about being process-oriented. Good. Now, a lot of times people come to me after this class and they're like, I want to interview you for the leadership class. We have to do a paper or something like that. And I think about a lot, because when they come in, every day it's a different thing that I see about leadership, or why I think I'm a leader, they might ask. And I don't often see myself as a leader, actually. I do what I do, and if other people are empowered by that, or they work with that, that's great, but I have a hard time calling myself a leader. Maybe that's just my own thing. But what do I know about leadership is something that I wanted to think about and share with you today. You need to have a track for your train, and that's where the purposeful comes in. You can't just drive your train. You've seen the movie, what's that movie? Holiday movie, Christmas movie, Tom Hanks. The train is off the track. Polar Express, ding ding! Polar Express, yes. So you know at one point, if you've seen this movie, that it comes off the track and it's on the ice and it's just all over the place. And you're like, oh my gosh, how's it going to find another track? And it eventually does. But in the meantime, they're all over the place and people are falling around, things are falling off the whatever. So you need to have a track for your training. You need to have a goal. You need to have a purpose. You need to know where you're going, whether it's flipping burgers, or whether it's, you know, stacking books at the library, or whether it's working with a group of students in the organization that you might be working, a club organization. You're gonna get what you give. I know that's a song, too. Who sings it? Is it Green Day? Anyway, you get what you give. If you put in about 50%, you're probably gonna get back maybe 50%. If you put 100% of that passion, of that motivation, of that drive that you have from within to something, you're probably gonna get more back. If you're working in the classroom as a peer mentor, for example, you know, when you spend the time to go around and get to know all the people in your class and listen to them and hear what they're saying and what they're not saying, you're probably gonna get something back from that. You're probably gonna, if you get them connected with each other, you're gonna get a community that is probably gonna be pretty strong. It takes a lot of time and effort. But if you don't put much time and effort into that, your professor, your teaching partner might say, you know, I need you to go out and meet with all these students, and you may, you know, meet with 3/4 of them and say, got most of them. That's probably gonna show. And you're probably not gonna feel good about the efforts that you're putting in either. So you've gotta make a decision to put your best foot forward and put your effort forth. Whether it's the beginning of the game or the end of the game. Like I said before, how you end something says a lot more than how you start it. Right? With relationship comes grace. When we get to know people and we get to understand where they're coming from and who they are, we have a lot more grace for them when things might not go so well. I work with a team of people. I've worked with teams all my life. And sometimes when we get to know each other and we understand where each other are coming from, when someone makes a mistake or doesn't show up for something, we're willing to give them a little bit more grace because we know they're going through something. But if we don't know them, say it's like the first week or we didn't get to know them and it's the, you know, in the middle of the 6th month, we might not give them so much grace. That's, you know, well, they didn't show up. Well, they're not really committed to this job either. You know, or something like that. With relationships brings grace. Get to know the people that you're working with. Pay attention. And I've talked about this a couple times in terms of communication. Pay attention. Be quiet. Listen. Observe. Sometimes I might come into a room and I'll just sit there and kind of listen to what's going on. And I've done that before here. I just come in and kind of watch what's going on. I see where the natural connections are made. I see who's talking to each other. I see who's sitting alone. You know, and sometimes when I come into a group of people, I might go sit next to the person that's not talking to anyone else. You know, and reach out to them. You know? So try to pay attention, be quiet, listen, observe, and look at what's not happening too. It's not always easy. Leadership is not always easy. In fact, probably like raising kids, most of the time it's hard. But it's worth it. Because in the end, I think we gain a lot of skills, knowledge, abilities that are going to take us out of SSU and into the realm that we want to get into. Whether that's in physical therapy, or whether that's at H&R Block, or whether that's at Burger King. That you're going to find skills that are going to help you to rise above the rest. Leaders just do, they take the initiative. At least that's what I believe. I believe that, you know, when we have gone through some training and when we've gone through some experiences, like I've got a group of people that work with me, programmers, and the first semester we're learning, we're understanding, we're gaining some knowledge about the position, about who we are as a team, etc., etc. About this time, though, I'm expecting that they're going to take some initiative. They know the job. They know what they should be doing. I'm expecting that at this point they're taking initiative, and before I ask them to do things, they're probably doing it. It shows me that they're invested in what they're doing, and it shows me that they're engaged in our process. When they're the first one there and the last one to leave, that says something to me. And that says something to other folks when I've done that as well. You know, so keep that in mind. And there's not one right way to do it. You're going to do things differently, then you're going to do things differently, then you're going to do things. You might be working with a similar group of people in the same type of program, you're all going to do it differently. And that's okay. Because you've got to find your niche, you've got to find your way of doing things. When I worked in the residence halls, community development, each CSA would do their things differently. Some people would go around door to door every night. Some people would just have building dinners. Some people would not do anything. You know, and it's okay. Well, not doing anything is not okay. But doing something. But anyway, they'd be having a conversation with me then. But I think, you know, you're going to get to a place where you're building community. Don't compare yourself to others. You know, you work with your supervisor to do the best that you can do in that job. to connect with the students, if you're listening, if you're communicating, if you're putting your best foot forward, if you're taking the initiative, if you're giving of yourself in that position, if you're listening and if you're paying attention to what's being said, you know, that's your right way. That's your right way. And leadership should be fun. If you're not having fun, then maybe there's something wrong. Now, I'm not saying fun all the time, because it's not fun all the time. We have jobs that we have to do. We have to pay attention to the ethics. We have to pay attention to including other people. We have to pay attention to when there's conflict. How do we deal with that conflict? We haven't even talked about conflict. That's a whole other class. But there's lots of different things to it. But, you know, at the end of the day, you should be having fun. I wake up every day and say, I get to go to work today. I am very fortunate. And there have been bad days where I've gotten up and, you know, I've been like, oh my goodness, I have to deal with this today. But you know what? I get up out of bed, I put my clothes on, and I put a foot forward. Doesn't mean I always do great. I don't always do great, don't let me say that. But you know, I'm putting my best foot forward. And at the end of the day, if I've done my best, and I've listened to the people that I'm working with, you know, and I've taken the initiative, and I've communicated as well as I could, you know, usually I find myself having some fun too with the people that I'm working with. You know, if it's not fun, it should be. It's kind of like if you're a softball player in high school, you played softball all your life, which I did. And by the time it got to college, I would go out and would try and would be on the field, and it was like practice every day, sometimes 2 a day, sometimes 3 a day. And it was like, this is not fun. And I decided, yeah, this is not going to happen for me. I want to have fun when I'm playing. I want to have fun when I'm doing it. So you need to think about that as you're doing something. Okay? All right. How are we on time?
6 more minutes.
Oh, so that's perfect. 6 more minutes before you?
Yep, and then I'm out time.
Oh, great. Well, we should be okay then. All right, let me ask you, any questions about what I talked about? Does it make sense? Doesn't mean I'm right. There's a lot, like I said, there's so many different ways to do things. This is what I found has worked for me and has worked for others that maybe I work with, but not necessarily is it work for everyone. But that's what I think about when I think of leadership. I know that this class can be a lot of work. You're going to have to put forth the effort. It's not a class that's an easy bird class like they say in Sister Act 2. I'm very much a pop culture fiend, so sorry if I reference that a lot. It's not an easy class, but it will be worth it. You will learn a lot about yourself. You'll learn a lot about the people that you're in your class, your little cohort there. And hopefully you'll find yourself in positions where later on you'll be able to pull from the experience and the knowledge that you get from this class. And you'll have some friends and some colleagues and some people that you can connect with and begin to work together to make some change perhaps in the university, to enjoy each other's company, and to help lead the next group of students that are going to be coming to Sonoma State University in just a short time. I would imagine there'll be many of you that will be summer O leaders. I will imagine there'll be many of you that will be CSAs, peer mentors, TLAs, summer bridge leaders. What am I missing? Tour guides. ITP. Many of you will be filling those roles. And I can remember the people that were my first RAs. I can remember the people that were at my orientation. And people will remember you too. So I hope that this class will give you the confidence, the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities to lead with compassion, to lead with passion, and to just show the world what you can do, because I can see it already, and I know I've worked with many of you in other ways, that that's going to happen for you. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Let me go over a few things here. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to email me, mo.phillips@sonoma.edu. Find me in the Student Center, 2nd floor. I'm always available for students. A few overall class expectations. Class ends when the presenter is done presenting, not at 12:50. Just to let you know. And students who need to leave early need to, due to extenuating circumstances, have to have prior approval from their instructor. Just because you have another class at 1 o'clock is not an emergency or extenuating circumstance. No cell phones, not even to check the time. Sometimes sends the wrong message to people like me. or the classmates around you. Kind of like being in a movie. Let's turn them off and put them under the seat. Disconnect from the outside world for 50 minutes. We can do that. My son can't do it yet, but I'm working on that. Connect here and now. Be engaged in the conversation. Be engaged in what is happening around you, whether it's in this lecture or in your classrooms. That's the way you're going to learn. Don't do other work during the presentation. I know how hard it is as I was a student to try to get all the work done. When you're in one class after another class after another class, you got this group, you got that club, you've got this thing, but try to be here and now. You're probably taking notes for the class, that's fine, but not doing other work. Or Facebook games. Facebook games probably not a good thing. Respect the confidentiality and what is shared by the presenter and other students in this class. You might hear information here from the people on stage or in the classroom setting. Keep that within the group, and I'm sure you would appreciate it if people took things that you were saying in confidence like that and keeping it to yourself. Any questions about that? Excellent. Well, thank you for your time. I'm going to give Alvin to you here.
Another round of applause. Awesome, so I have a couple of quick reminders. So for those of you who have a pending application for all those positions that Mo mentioned, CSA, TLA, Summer Orientation Leader, Summer Bridge Leader, Peer Mentor, and ITP Actor, when is the due date? Friday, February 5th. So if you've already started your application, remember you still need to go in and upload your fall 2015 grades, your cumulative GPA, your most updated transcript that includes your spring 2016 classes, and then the last important part is letter of recommendation. So if you haven't had the opportunity to reach out to the person who's going to be writing that for you, remember to remind them that this Friday is the due date. So email them, call them, go by their office, go by their house. Don't do that. Whatever it takes to get that letter of rec in. And then for those of you, hold on, we're not packing up yet. So for those of you who are interested in those positions, remember that it's not too late. You have until this Friday to put in an application. It's actually doable between now and then. So think about it, talk to your friends, definitely consider it.
And also, excuse me, one reminder of the letter of recommendation. If you ask somebody to give you a recommendation, you have to send the recommendation form to them. So you've got to send an email so that they get the form and they have to fill out.
So make sure you're downloading the letter of recommendation off of OrgSync and then emailing it to the person who's going to be writing the recommender. They will fill it out and then they will submit it to a general email, and then we know that we have received it. All right. And then for next week, if we can actually work together when we come into class. I've noticed that a lot of people are coming in a little bit later, and that's okay. Some people have class until 11:50, 11:55, or even 12. So next week, I'm going to be making an effort to really get people to squish over to this side so that we can leave all the empty seats open on this side so that our friends can come in and don't have to do the awkward shuffle and make everyone stand up at the same time. So can we all agree to do that next week? Okay, so I'll remind you as well. Any other announcements from the faculty or the TAs that I may be forgetting? All right, that's all I have. Thank you. See you all next week.